Greeting, dear viewers. Welcome to the International Roundtable dedicated to the conference Global Crisis. This already affects everyone. It was a huge research done by volunteers, and the research was about artificial intelligence, ecology, climate crisis, and it was all done by volunteers from 180 countries. The conference was showing how serious the climate situation is, and it is motivating people to continue the research. And we are going to have a new conference on December 4th, 2021, Global Crisis, Time for the Truth. And this conference will be simultaneously interpreted into 100 languages. And I want to emphasize that it's all done by volunteers from all over the world.
And now we would like to introduce our today's guests to all of you. So today we have Zorana Petras from Poland, psychologist, and we have Basma Asa from United Arab Emirates, a business consultant. And let me ask first of all, let me ask our technical support to play this one short clip from the conference for you, and then we can talk about it a little bit more.
Modern civilization has entered the stage of instability and global crisis.
The future has already arrived. In the field of artificial intelligence, I really understand that today we see tremendous opportunities and possibilities.
We will have human-level intelligence in terms of problem solving, and that we could have that pretty soon.
And in the consumer society we live in today, it will leave us jobless.
Hello, you are fired.
Every owner of some corporation will create a number of machines, fill it with artificial intelligence, so a human being will simply become out of demand in this chain. Millions of people around the world have already become climate refugees. The events are developing at a shocking speed. The force of cataclysms is growing in progression. Their frequency is increasing every day.
What you can see here is in red are the amount of this particular characteristic of the planet, that is left. And we can see that in many cases we have lost more than 60, 50, 60, 70% of this particular ecosystem or species.
We're eating our planet. Maybe it's time we realize our responsibility and solve our problems together.
Because sudden large-scale natural disasters occur on the planet on a daily basis. And there are fewer and fewer safe places.
Soon everyone will be hungry, barefoot, naked. Because of consumerism, we are the generation that will see it through. Either we can stand up to it, or it will end with us.
180 countries on the platform of ALLATRA International Public Movement.
It is broadcast live on thousands of YouTube and other streaming channels. Moreover, thanks to volunteers from around the world who understand the importance of this event, the conference is simultaneously translated into 72 languages.
The main value in a creative society is human life, your life, the life of your children, your loved ones.
Only together can we find solutions. And we all want peace and happiness. And together we can create this world.
Now I would like to ask Basma, what are your impressions about the conference? What are your feelings? Could you share with us? And what touched you the most?
Thank you so much for your question, for having me today with you in this session. The conference, actually, I felt it's very important because it has shed many lights on different topics, and all these topics are very important for humanity. It addresses global crises, not only just one, which is very important, unlike many other conferences that focus only on one topic, focus only on one crisis, while the world today, especially after what we've been through during the pandemic, is facing many crises, and the challenges are countless. It's our turn now. It's the time to move, to do something, to contribute, to save this world. Otherwise, as the report said, we are going to vanish very soon, and our kids and grandkids will not have a future on this planet.
Well, as you know, our conference started with artificial intelligence, and right now we see how tremendous it's growing, it's changing our world. At the same time, it's kind of a threat because it can replace a lot of human jobs. And today we live in a society where profit is on the first place. So when it comes to replacing people, if it generates profit for the company, we're going to see that happening. We're going to see mass unemployment within nearest decades. And what are the threats of such rapid development of technologies for our society? And do you think that could be a push for humans to change the way we prioritize our values in this today's society? What do you think, Basma?
Let's start with the threats. I think the threats is not only about the employment or replacing the current manpower with machines and increasing the level of unemployment in societies, but also it will reduce significantly the human interactions with each other, which we as humans, we need that for our mental and emotional health. Imagine yourself speaking or dealing all the time with a machine. How would you mentally and emotionally feel? You would feel completely distant. And we have tried that, by the way, during the pandemic. I keep referring to that topic because we have learned a lot during this period. So during the pandemic, by force, we had to be socially distanced from those we love, from those we work with, from people, from life, from everything. How did we feel? How was the impact on our mental and emotional health? Are we still suffering from this or not? For sure, yes. So I think if AI or technology replaces the human interactions gradually and having this increasing over time, I think this will affect our emotions, our mental health, which will affect also the relationships with people within the same family, and also eventually on our physical health.
Thank you so much.
And now, as we see, Zoriana is back, and I wanted, because of technical issues, now we are able to address your question. And we know that you watched the conference, and could you share your impressions? And also, you wanted to put light on topics of artificial intelligence, and could you please share your view on that topic too? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to all this great team. You're all doing a great job.
Але мені здається, що завдяки саме таким людям дійсно можна щось змінити. Після перегляду конференції глобальна криза, ви знаєте,
after watching this conference, you know, my eyes opened even wider because we're used to thinking that it's all somewhere far away and in not such great volumes, but actually it's close and it's scary. It's not going to pass us. So it's great that these people who gather today, they want to let you know what is wrong, because it's easy to say what is wrong, but it's hard to say what to do to improve the situation. And I think the more people like this we have, then we can actually affect this situation, at least a little bit. I discovered a lot for myself, indeed. We don't realize a lot. And, you know, I come some people think, how can we change something globally, right? What can I do about some ecology, biology? What can you really do? But it really depends a lot on us. We can do a lot, and it depends on each of us.
Але це все виходить, мені здається, ще й з сім'ї, з дому, з дитини маленької. Якщо ми будемо навчати і показувати прикладом, не просто розказувати наші.
It all comes from the family. If we teach our children and if we bring them up in a good way, if we show what to do and what not to do.
Дерево високе, як сміття, не будеш викидати, не будеш забруднювати екологію навколо. І такими маленькими крочками.
If we just take these little steps, show them how to deal with garbage, we really can do a lot of good things. We can change a lot.
Щодо комп'ютеризації IT-технологій.
As regarding the IT technology, information technology and digitalization, computerization, I would like to go back to, our recent past. Many people still remember what it is like to live without mobile phones, without computers, and this is normal. But when now I speak on the subject of, like we already implemented some robotization, we already have some information technology, so many information technology, and we see a lot of technology already introduced. So why do we deny actually that IT can actually supersede its creator? Like, for example, the ones who developed this technology, I cannot deny it, for example, and we cannot say that it won't happen. Some people say that it's wonderful. Yes, it is good, but sometimes if you just eat one pill of aspirin, it's fine. But if you eat a whole box of it, that won't be a good result. So maybe it's a bad comparison. But, some people say that still there will be professions, that young people still hope that they will have job. But, in such a consumerist society, who cares about you? Who will pay money to you, because technology will be able to do this and at higher quality. And those who develop this, they probably don't think about it. They think that IT will never supersede them and exceed them in everything, but that's wrong. But how can we be sure about that? In no way. It seems to me that if, more humaneness would be brought up in people, if people would read more books about kindness, morality, if people would know more history and about what happened in the former centuries and millennia, we would understand that it's quite possible situations when technology overcome people. That basically this technology is already here, It's not the near future, it's already what we have today. But we can turn it into a good, positive trend, and spiritual development can be ensured. Somebody might say that I'm now saying about some very high, elevated aspects of life, but I would say that, for example, today, dealing with ecology, we can use not paper boxes, but use some, bags made of special material. And let's say without buying anything from paper. And if, for example, we would buy less goods than now, it will be a really huge step. I can really talk a lot about this and give many examples. Sometimes people ask me that it's very easy to talk, but what should not be done, but it's really difficult to say what should be done. But I'm, for example, as a psychologist, as a musician, because my first education was music education, but secondly, as a psychologist, I can say that people who think, people who are kinder by their, inner world, who are tender, who like to listen to good music, they do not want to do anything bad, and you do not want to harm nature. They do not have such a need. And we don't need so much goods as we consume them today. We have just to sit down and analyze at the elementary level what each of us buy on an everyday basis. Like we are buying some food stuff, but we haven't eaten the food which we already have. We don't need so much, really, but people kind of compete in who has much and who has less. It seems like, for example, very expensive Swiss watch and my cheap watch shows the same time, just the same, but we waste our lives on some fight or pursuit of buying something more expensive, more fashionable, like better iPhone, etc., etc. But basically, we don't need much. And this is very important to understand, but I think this understanding will come a little bit later. For some reason, people are not afraid that they think that, like, if you are so educated, you're so good dressed, you're so smart, everything will be fine with you.
Thank you, Zoriana. And as we know, one of the topics that was brought up at the previous conference was climate refugees. And in fact, the upcoming conference on December 4th will be dedicated to the climate problem almost in all of its aspects. And I would like to address my next question to Basma. Since we know that how much climate change already affects and how much climate refugees we have all over the world, can we actually call our civilization civilized if we don't have even the refugee laws between the countries for climatic refugees? And what should be done? How can we actually improve situation when it comes to this very serious topic, which is going to be even more serious in upcoming years?
First of all, yes, we need to have laws to better, support the refugees. The world becomes less and less safer every day, which makes us expect more and more refugees in the near future and the far future as well. Let's start with the challenges, the main challenges that face every refugee. So as a refugee, when someone goes to a country as a refugee, they have a lack of belongingness. They have a lack of communication with their families. They are facing mental, emotional trauma. Who is going to help them with these traumas? Who's going to heal them, conceal these problems? Who's going to help them and support them with the visa insecurity they have? because of course they had difficulties in obtaining the legal documents because their country is most probably in a war case, and they were lucky enough to escape the war. They would also have limited access to the life basics like food, shelter, and physical security. They would have the language barrier and culture shock as well, especially if they have kids. And we cannot forget the picture that shook the world a few years ago of the child, the refugee child that was dead and his body was floating on one of the shores. We cannot forget that. But until when is this crisis going to continue and the world is just watching? I understand that every country has its own laws, has its own capacity, has its own, let's say, resources to offer. But the reason why these countries are suffering or cannot take more refugees because they are not joining forces together. Every country is thinking about its nation, about its interests individually, and how much of the refugees or how many of the refugees it can take without having like a global code or a global agreement to how distributing these refugees can be less hassle for every country. So let's think on an individual level then. Us, we are not governments. We are not government representatives. We are normal individuals. I don't know about the rest of the attendees in this conversation, but myself, I have seen refugees. I have seen them. I am originally Egyptian. I haven't been a refugee yet, but as an individual, what can be my role to support these refugees and what I can encourage and advise other individuals also to do? So if you're in a country where there is refugees, try to secure a home for them if you are financially capable. If you're not, try to find someone who can. Encourage the network of your friends, contacts to donate together for securing a home for them, to donate to secure clothes for them, to donate to secure food, the life basics, the medicine, the treatment. Can you imagine what these refugees have been through until they reached where they are today? How many countries they've been through, how many seas they had to cross, what was the climate conditions they've been through, especially again if they have kids. Try to help them find a job, assist them, try to improve their skills. For instance, if you are an employer, employ them, offer them a job, offer them something very basic, even if it does not require skills, does not require them to speak the native language if they cannot speak it. If you're not an employer, if you know an employer within your network that requires staff and does not require the language or the skills that the refugee might lack, why don't you make the connection between them? Why don't you recommend them? If you speak, if they are in a country that speaks a different language with a different culture than theirs, why don't you volunteer your time in your spare time to teach them this language? Can you imagine how much impact you can have on someone's life, someone who has already been through a lot of trauma? You can do a lot as an individual. You truly can do a lot. You can hold awareness and fundraising events within your network, within your contacts, within your even job environment. You can guide them to charity associations within the country you are to help them get to them at least the basic life needs. Most importantly, I think be kind to them. Don't make them feel like they're strangers, and do not ask them to give up their identity so you have to accept them in the society. We accept the differences. Everybody's different, everybody's beautiful, everybody's unique in their own way. So let's accept them, accept our differences, help them blend in the new culture and the new society without asking them to erase or give up their identity. This is what I think as individuals we can do.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your bringing the light on the topic of refugees. And I also wanted to remind our viewers just we understand the importance of this past conference, global crisis. This already affects everyone, showed how serious the situation is. And I want to invite all our viewers, all our guests to join a new to watch the conference, this coming conference on December 4th, 2021. Let's watch the trailer about this new conference on which is coming on December 4th, 2021.
Today, our world is facing the greatest challenge of civilization. Destructive element. Abnormal cataclysms. Sudden climatic disaster.
It's a tornado! Look at that! Of everything God.
Their numbers are skyrocketing and their power is irreversible.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God!
People are dying and cities are being destroyed. Why are we, all people, not coping with it? The official aim of international covenants and agreements is to curb climate change. But why does the climate continue to change at a catastrophic rate? Why is the global media silent about the scale of these threats? What diverts people's attention from these risks, environmental catastrophes, and an increase in CO2 to what environmental consequences has mindless consumerism led? What is the real cause of global climate change? Nothing is more important today than information about how our humanity can survive and save our planet. Now, it's time to tell the truth while we still have a chance to make a difference. December 4th, live broadcast, international online conference, global crisis, time for the truth. 100 languages of simultaneous interpreting. Organized by volunteers from 180 countries. Truth purifies. Truth unites. Truth gives a chance to live. Join us. Global crisis. Time for the truth.
So, as we've seen, this is the trailer, and this is already what's happening all over the world. It's numerous floodings, wildfires, earthquakes, and really there is no region that's not affected by the climate change. And as Basma mentioned a couple of years ago, we had this huge wave of migration, and we've seen what's happening. We've seen the pictures that we really cannot forget. And we also know that reaction in some parts of Europe was different. Not all people were ready to accept this fact. But after what happened this summer in Europe with those floodings, I think that people actually realize that anyone can become a refugee, and it doesn't matter what's the level of your economical development, any country can be affected. And we can see any country possibly tomorrow migrate in the opposite way. And do people realize how they will be accepted over there? That it doesn't matter how rich or poor their country, they can be refugees the next day. I would like to address this question to Zarana, since you live in Europe, and ask, what's actual situation in Europe? Do people realize what's going on and that anyone can be a refugee tomorrow?
Я скажу вам так.
Yes, okay. I would say the following. I think the attitude is dual. What I can see here in Europe, that we say one thing or something, but we do something different. So I would say that many people do help, but there is no specific mechanism of how to render this assistance. But basically, you know, I will go back to some subject which probably it's wrong to touch it, but I will touch it because it's a huge problem which is very topical. If we speak of refugees, climate refugees is one thing, but if we speak of other refugees, it's a different thing. And also, you see, I would like to touch upon the following issue. Can we really, you know, is it really possible, for example, to can refugees be sure that when they leave their country and go to the other place, can they be sure that the environment there will be good? How to ensure that the environment will be in different places? I know that many things are done at the level of government, at least it looks this way from a side, but we can see what is really happening. Not being a professional, I don't work in any government institutions, and I'm not a legislator, but I can say that as an ordinary person, I can say that there are people who really have a big heart and they are ready to help others, but they do it with some caution, because over the last years people experienced a lot. You know, we can see that really it is possible to help, and people want to help, but they try to do it quite delicately. I cannot say to what extent these people are secured at the level of government, the level of country. But I can say that very often, to be honest, refugees themselves, they don't even like to clean after themselves. We all want to live in a good, prosperous country, and I think basically those people who gathered here today, Alatra TV reporters already spread information, and when people really see that this is an urgent situation, that it touches everyone, they will start acting. Because if we just sit and wait until something happens at the level of the country, at the level of government, that something will be solved by the president, that's a wrong expectation, because everyone should think about how to be kinder, more humane, how to improve the environment, and what to do for the people who had such a tragedy in their place, and how to help those people who turned out to be refugees. For me personally, all this relates to faith in particular, because We are all going, as they say, under God. God is above all of us. So it's our faith in God, our inner world, which shows and determines how we will treat each other within our family, how we treat other people, how we treat refugees. I believe that when there will be a conference on December 4, many think that somebody will say something, show some way out, and everything will be fine. But no, everyone should understand that each person has to do something. And if everyone is ready to help others, that will be a wonderful principle.
I agree with you that change begins with us, personal choice of every day when we get up in the morning and we make a choice to become better. And also, it's hard to deny the climate change right now, and it's hard to. There's a lot of topics we discussed today about how climate affects how climate affects our lives, and that nobody is protected. And tomorrow it could be anyone. I mean, our family could be affected by it just in the nearest future. And also, I want to address. Asa, I want to address you this question: how important it is to build a creative society. So this society, when human life matters, and then the society where such a word as a refugee is not gonna be in our vocabulary.
It's very important, of course. There's no doubt about this. And I really look forward and I hope that we see the day that a refugee is actually an immigrant, is not a refugee anymore. So yes, it's very important. It's important for the health of the society, not the physical health, but the social health of the society. The way we raise our kids, we bring them up to think that refugees or immigrants are one main pillar of our society. They are not different. They are also humans. We can all be refugees one day, but we just don't know when or if we will be. We are all neighbors and we are partners actually in this planet. It's only politicians and old, wars that made separations and made borders to the countries. But we are all humans. We are all look the same, even if we look different. But we are all the same. We have the same heart. We have the same organs. We have the same functions. We go through the same issues. We feel the same feelings. So yes, of course, we need to continue addressing this topic. We need to continue working on enhancing the life, not only of refugees to transfer them or convert them into immigrants, but of all humans, of humanity in general. It's not only about the refugee problem. As you were saying, there's a climate problem as well. So if we survive the refugee problem and we turn them into immigrants, what will happen with the climate? Are we still going to survive on this planet? No. So it's all related and connected to each other. These crises are really urgent and they need immediate interaction. They need immediate intervention individually, not only globally, not only on government levels. Every individual has to do their own duty. They have to do their own part, whether it's raising the awareness, whether it's encouraging each other to do the right thing, whether it's think and act and eat responsibly. It makes me feel actually very annoyed when I'm out for, let's say, just coffee with friends and they order water, a bottle of water, and then they leave the rest of the bottle and they just leave the restaurant. And then they find it strange when I pick it up, even though I'm not going to drink it because, there's a chance also of health issues. But I take it to water the plants. I tell them, guys, the water is a scarce resource. You cannot leave your water like this. Even though if you're not going to use it again, use it for planets, use it for an animal. The leftovers of food in restaurants, do not throw leftovers. Even, okay, let's say you made the mistake and you over-ordered, the food or you overcooked at home? Why do you throw out the leftovers? The food is also a scarce resource these days. So not only the refugees suffer from hunger, there is a lot of poverty in the world. And again, it's a cycle. It's all connected to each other. Refugees problem is connected to the climate problem, is connected to poverty, is connected to hunger. One leads to the other, one crisis leads to the other, and it's all the same. There is a huge crisis in humanity, and the reasons are different, but they're all leading to the same results. And we need to do something about it as individuals before we ask the government to do their role as well.
Thank you so much, Basma. Totally agree with you that only as individuals we can make a request for our governments to start doing something, because without people creating the demand for it, there is nothing they can do. They cannot just push something upon us without us wanting this change. And as we know, for like multiple situations, we have situations where people are divided by this or that, but it's actually about unity of all people, because climate change is something that affects all people. And if we don't work as one global civilization here, it's nobody's gonna win. Nobody is actually winning here. And as we know from the conferences, earlier this year, we had a conference called Creative Society, What the Prophets Dreamed Of, in which actually people from all over the world showed that there are no differences. Even when it comes to religion, it cannot be a difference, because in every culture, there is an image of prosperous society where all people live as one single family. So we actually should create a demand to build such a society, and the important step in this will be our conference on December the 4th, where we're going to talk about the global crisis and global climatic crisis, and see how can we unite the world to actually overcome this issue, because maybe issue can help us to find the solutions, find us ways to actually implement the principles of human life above profit in our civilizations. And I want to invite everyone to join us on December 4th. And everything is actually in our hands right now. Let's do everything we can to save lives of people, of our beloved ones. And thank you all for being with us today, and see you at the next international discussion.